Here, I will discuss two aspects of language use for romantic relationships. When in a relationship, people do not discuss certain topics, although those topics are sometimes important for the relationship. When in a relationship, people start developing personal idioms unique to the relationship. Let's discuss each in more detail. I already discussed content and relational messages in the beginning of the semester. To recap what content and relational messages are about, every message we exchange with others has content level and also relational level. The exact words and their literal meanings pertain to the content of the message. So in a sense, what is literally said is about the content of the message. On the other hand, what is implied can pertain to the relational level of message. Each message carries sometimes implicit and sometimes explicit implications about the relationship between the two interactants. In a sense, relational meaning of a message indicate what each other during the interaction feel and think about each other. This content and relational message concept is related to what is called meta-communication. Meta-communication refers to a secondary communication about how a piece of information is meant to be interpreted. It is based on the idea that the same message accompanied by different meta-communication can mean something entirely different, including its opposite, as in irony. For example, if you say, "Glad to see you," to someone and roll your eyes, "Glad to see you," at the same, you will not feel that you are actually glad to see them. So your verbal and non-verbal communication can be all taken together to provide the full spectrum of the meanings contained and implied in each message. The content and relational level of meanings are well shown in taboo topics and personal idioms. Baxter and Wilmot researched taboo topics with these questions shown in this slide. First, taboo topics are about what couples do not talk. Couples are reluctant to bring up these topics during their conversation. If they or one of them choose to discuss these topics, the interaction may become awkward, so to speak, in some cases. Self-disclosure is one of the most frequent phenomena to be studied in interpersonal communication. Self-disclosure has usually been defined rather narrowly to include personal information about the self that is not readily available from other information sources. What people do not discuss with their partners has not been researched often, and Baxter and Wilmot started this line of research on taboo topics. Taboo topics is not necessarily about what people decide not to disclose about self. A taboo topic is conceptualized as an interaction topic that is perceived as off-limit to one or both of the relationship parties. A topic is taboo if it is avoided because the person anticipates negative outcomes from its discussion. Taboo topic may or may not involve disclosure about the self. It could also involve information domain external to the self, the other party, or the relationships. For any relationship, there is often a number of oppositional pairs or contradictory forces. For example, openness and closedness. Sometimes partners want to be open with their partner, sharing a lot of things. But then, sometimes partners need to be closed off, closed away from the other person, some distance from each other. There might be this ideology of intimacy, notion that loving couples should be completely open with each other, and each partner should know everything about each other. Well, research findings show that it is not the case. The ideology of intimacy, being completely open, this complete openness is not necessarily a good thing. Partners in romantic relationships need some amount of information control in terms of which information, how much of information need to be disclosed or discussed. Now, let me tell you about what are the most frequent taboo topics in interpersonal and intimate relationships and why are they perceived as taboo. Okay, let's guess. What is the number one in this most frequently mentioned taboo topics? For this number one, 68% of the respondents in this study reported this type of taboo topic. Can you guess which one is number one? Let me show you number two and number four and the rest. 31% of the respondents in this study mentioned that what they did outside the relationship is not frequently discussed with their partners. Especially what they did with their friends, what they conversed with their same-sex or opposite-sex friends are not popular topics among intimate relationship partners. Then, what do you think? The number three in this list. Here is number one. Then, here is the number three. This slide shows all the six. Let me explain each topic category a little more. State of the relationship is a topic that involved an explicit discussion of the current or future state of the relationship between the parties. For example, partners do not talk explicitly about what stage of the relationship development they are in. Here, I am not saying that partners never talk about it. No one does it. It's just that compared to other normal and usual topics, many people in relationships find this topic to be difficult to bring up and tend to avoid it until they kind of have to. One of the reasons why this is a taboo topic is relationship destruction. Respondents who provided this reason felt that relationship talking about the state of the relationship, would destroy the present relationship between the parties. This destruction was envisioned to occur in a number of ways. Most frequently, a respondent reported that he or she and the relationship partner had unequal commitment levels, and that explicit relationship talk would force the parties to recognize this discrepancy, thereby destroying the relationship. For example, let me read you some statements given by the respondent in this study. It is hard to talk about what's going to happen in the future in the relationship. He knows more about what he wants, and I just don't know. Like, if people ask me out, I want to go out with them to see if he is really the one. I couldn't really tell him this. I'm afraid of hurting and upsetting him. Okay, this statement is kind of realization that commitment is unequal and that unequal commitment may make the relationship partner upset. Let me read you another statement. Someone said that in this study. It would ruin a carefree relationship. At a minimum, we'd have to attach a label. Talking about it, one had to call it, we have to call it as either friendship or that we are going together. And that would bring all sorts of expectations and pressure with it. So this respondent who said this statement perceived that he or she had a greater commitment, and then he or she was fearful of scaring the other party away. So sometimes people in a relationship may value the ambiguity that accompanied the unstated. Other reasons why state of the relationship is avoided as a conversation topic are that some people think that talking about the relationship itself may make them vulnerable, and it becomes possible that their feelings get hurt. They are fearful of such possibilities. Another reason is that some people think words, explicitly spoken words, are at best a weak substitute for what was just understood by the relationship parties. So some people think that you don't have to say it if both the parties feel it about their relationship quality. Relatedly, the future of the relationship, if the future of the relationship is undetermined and in a sense up in the air, why bother talking about it explicitly? There are possibilities that explicit talk about the state of the relationship can make everyone uncomfortable and may make things worse. Now, extra relationship activities is the second most avoided topic. It deals with activities and network relationships outside the relationship between the two parties. It is often avoided because there can be concerns that discussion of what occurred outside the relationship would have negative relationship implications, that some people anticipated that anger or jealousy would be the partner's reaction. Another reason is the right to privacy. Some people felt that either they or the other party had the right to autonomy and privacy outside their particular relationship. It is also the case that, in general, discussion of what one did with certain others would be awkward and would put those others in the middle, put them in the middle. It is sort of negative network implications. In a sense, my boyfriend knowing everything about what I did with my friends can put my friends in uncomfortable situations. The third taboo topic is relationship norms. It involved explicit discussion of the rules of behaviors. For example, how the parties were to treat one another. Talking about what I want from you and what I think you should do for me and this relationship can bring negative relationship implications. That is, some form of anger, resentment, or embarrassments are possible for either or both parties. Number 4, prior relationships is a taboo topic regarding prior relationship, especially with members of opposite sex. Conflict-inducing topics. This is a topic that pointed out how dissimilar or different the two relationship partners were. Examples can include religion, politics, money, attitudes about parents, and so on. Talking about these topics can start a conflict, start a fight. Finally, number 6, negatively balanced self-disclosure. It's about disclosing some information that is perceived as damaging to one's image, and it's unpleasant to discuss. The reason I included top topics in this lecture for the student in interpersonal communication is that I want you to be aware of these top topics and develop your own ways to deal with them. I'm not telling you that because these are top topics, you should definitely avoid them in your own relationships. Rather, I am implying that you may need to find ways to address these topics strategically and wisely and sensibly. Simply avoiding these topics is not the best way to manage and develop your relationships. Personal idioms are kind of fun topic. These researchers started this line of research. It is about what occurs when relationship advances. As relationships develop, partners develop personal idioms for each other and also for their relationship. If you know what these idioms do for you and for your partner and for the relationship, I'm hoping that you can better manage your relationship, and if you want, you can improve and strengthen your relationship. 즉, 연애를 잘하는 여러 가지 방법 중에 하나가 될 수도 있겠습니다. In English, management of personal idioms can be a way to have a good relationship with your romantic partner. First, solidarity. Developing your and your partner's own labels, that is, idioms only you and your partner know, can be a way to solidify your connection with your partner. You can develop stronger bond with your partner. Second, sentimentalism. Some of personal idioms partners develop can make partners feel lovey-dovey, gooey toward each other. To outsiders, these sentimental idioms may be embarrassing and cringy. For the two lovebirds, personal idioms can do wonders. Relatedly, the third function, personal idioms can be a way to show off how much you like or love the other person. Finally, the fourth function, by having special ways to address each other and develop your partner's highly personalized words, expressions, and idioms, you can feel that your relationship is at another stage. That is, the relationship is escalated and advanced. So then, what are the popular types of idioms? Here are 8 of them. For each idiom type, I will stop here explaining them myself. You can read the researcher's description of these idioms yourself in the following 3 slides. I will not quiz you on each of these items, so don't worry. You don't have to memorize them. Just read for fun.